much. So this month's CEO Speaks topic is big data during the pandemic. So the context of this topic is the spread of COVID-19 generated an extraordinary volume of data that needed to be harnessed to aid the healthcare professionals and combat the spread of the virus. Scientists use sophisticated technologies like big data analytics, machine learning, natural language processing to understand the virus, store the patient data, and come up with solutions to COVID problems. So the question I have now is, what is the role that big data played in managing the pandemic exactly?
Thank you. Thank you for that, Sitara. Yeah, actually the importance of data uh, in general, I think everybody understands the significance of the data in general post-pandemic because uh, basically, yeah, there is no good decision, no well-informed good decision you can make without data. Period. So uh, you know, uh, you can make decisions, but you cannot be sure whether they are good decisions, well-informed decisions without data. So the need for data is very, very, very important. And when we say big data, it's not just the voluminous part of the data, it is the data which is the real time, right? The useful, the moment you need it. There is lot when the pandemic went, you know, how many people have to have vaccinated, how many vaccines we need to get, and what geography, what distribution method we need to find, uh, you know, all that stuff, right? How many beds we need, how many oxygen cylinders we need, and how many beds are open, right? Because the what is the beds open at 10 a.m. is not the same number of beds open at 2 p.m., right, in a hospital. And when you have thousands of hospital, or hundreds of hospital, or even tens of hospitals, when things are so fluid and moving, how do you manage that? So I saw so many people moving around the hospital. See, one side of the city there will be kind of some extra spare available, and then in another side of the city there are people standing in line to get admitted into the hospital. So this is lack of information. Or and the thing is, even the hospital people who have the vacancy and people who will admit, they don't know because that information has flowed in, because things are not moving fast enough. So it's not only big data, the speed in which the data has to be moved so that it is relevant and it can be taken for best advantage of. I've seen that, right? And a lot of goodwill citizens in the WhatsApp, they shared the information. People were trying to do, but if we had a system, and then I saw an app which was there, which constantly tells, hey, where the vaccination is available today, right? Because that vaccination center is applying, so you can go to this vaccination center and stuff like that. And then also where the beds are available, where the oxygen is available, there was information available, and all that stuff. All this is powered by data. The underlying of all this data, without data, it's impossible to manage. So I think the need not only for the healthcare, the whole logistics, the supply chain, everything around that, as simple as ambulance and transportation, we need data available. And it has just shown how important is this data. And then now getting into the deeper into the science of it, right? The efficacy of it, calculating the efficacy of it, because these are not a silver bullet where they are 100%, right? They are either 90%, 95%. So they are not without any risks, but there could be individuals, and we have seen individuals who are affected by that. But in the bigger picture, they are saving lives, right? In the bigger picture, like if there is one or two affected, there are thousands of lives saved because of that. So we need to make the decisions based on that. And how do you do that? How do you take the emotions out and take the, because yes, at the individual level it's very emotional, but when you're making a policy and a bigger things, it is data. So without data it's impossible, and we have seen really every single walk of the healthcare system, right from the supply chain to the transportation to the, the science of it, the vaccination science of it, and also doing the third wave, when the peak of third wave will happen, when the next wave is coming, where it is coming, all that stuff. It's all data driven, and I'm really seeing, like, and then people are both in the governmental and in private, and also the, people, citizens, taking these data and putting some good intelligence. So yeah, it's really, everybody has seen the value of data. I think this pandemic has taught us how important it is to manage a crisis like this. There is no way you can manage a crisis without having a solid data foundation.
Absolutely, I agree 100% that without a solid data foundation, it would have been impossible. Like 100 years ago, there was another pandemic like this called the Spanish flu. And back then, there was no technology, no big data, nothing like that. So, and much more people died than in COVID-19. So,
Exactly.
and see, in the Spanish flu time, the people were really suffering. But now, like, at least people can be from the comfort of their own four walls in the home and still manage. And I think big data made that possible because we recovered so much data about the pandemic in such a rapid time frame. We were able to tell the people exactly what they needed to do to keep themselves safe.
Exactly, exactly. And the interesting thing that you brought up Spanish flu, we need data to even tell the truth, because I don't know many of them know or not, the Spanish flu did not originate from Spain. The Spanish flu originated from US. And then it went to Spain, it became big in Spain, and the Spain name got tagged to it, and then it's called Spanish flu. But actually, the source of Spanish flu is US, North America. But if you don't have data, if you don't have all this information recorded, what will happen, right? Whatever just people call it loudly, that becomes the truth. And that is not necessarily the real truth.
Wow, so that means like because we recovered this data years later, this was probably not found out when it happened. This was recovered probably years later, and only now we are finding out about this.
Yeah, no, not that. Even before that was the case. But the problem is, what happened is it just got tagged. The point I was trying to make is, see, for us to tell what is the truth, right? Today, nobody is disputing the fact that where the COVID-19 came from. The source was somewhere Yuan from China, right? But let's assume we did not have data. We did not have these records, all that stuff. Uh, Somebody could come and tell, hey, it came from India. Somebody could come and tell it came from, Africa, or it could be from, Sri Lanka. But now nobody can tell that, because we all have data to tell exactly. So without, for us to keep everybody even honest and truth, we need data. Because if you don't have data, you cannot tell what is the real truth and honest. Now at this point, it's an undisputable fact, because we have the data, that this came from there, and we have to figure out how to deal with it. So the point I'm trying to make is as simple as knowing, or not simple, as essential and critical as knowing what is the truth. We need data. And then to deal with the challenges, we need data. So there is absolutely nothing you can do at a policy level and in a big scale today without having the data and manage it effectively in a real time.
I see. So what you're saying is when we have data, which is hard numbers and statistics, they can be misinterpreted, but for the most part, they do not lie.
Right.
So that is why it is much easier to find the truth now. Because while somebody can misinterpret the numbers, for the most part, numbers themselves do not lie.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. You're right. You're right. Exactly. Even if it is misinterpreted, we can always go back to the numbers and look at it, and we really know what it is. You're absolutely right. So that is why the data is very important. The numbers are very important.
So Other than of course, in the medical field, big data was used to find out the daily cases and used to find how vaccinations were, which vaccinations were available. I believe CoWIN, or a CoWIN application, most probably used big data analytics to compile the lists of all the hospitals in India and which ones had Covaxin, which ones had Covishield. I believe it was used in that. But other than the medical field, what were some other new applications of big data that were used during the pandemic, especially in the career field, now that we were all working from home? What are some ways in which big data was used to manage life during the pandemic, other than the pandemic itself?
Well, um, I think another way where I've seen the big data is being used is right, like it's becoming like everything, right? Because everything has become online, and the moment everything has become online, you're pretty much tracking everything. Seeing how it is working using data. The education of the children, more mostly these days. I think the children are all digital, right? From testing and everything. So that has become pretty much heavy on on the digital mode. So to see how the kids are learning, schools and education systems are heavily relying on using data for that. Uh, for the overall supply chain, the retail e-commerce has significant. We saw the restaurant app went IPO this week, are about to go IPO. Most of the restaurants and even people actually, even groceries, people are kind of they're significant in US. We have seen where the food is ordered, even groceries are ordered through that, and the companies are managing the demand supply chain of where, how much, which warehouse they have to stock more, what kind of food they have to stock more, where, all that stuff using the big data. So, pretty much with the e-commerce, a good amount of commerce moving online from a brick and mortar retail store. Data is being used to kind of analyze all that stuff, and we have seen a significant increase in demand um, from our customers, implementing data e-commerce, both e-commerce and data projects. Significant. The demand far supersedes the supply. That's why we see there is so much demand for good quality data people and good quality web app people, talents, because the demand overall, all the companies, all the businesses, you name it, they are all seeing the value in having the data and a good UI UX, customer experience, web or app experience, so they can do things online.
So you're saying fields that were already desirable pre-pandemic, such as UX UI developers, big data scientists, and data analysts. These fields were already desirable pre-pandemic, but post-pandemic, the demand has exacerbated, and now we need more people than we actually have.
Absolutely, no question about it. We need more people in these technology because I think even the stores. The funny thing is, right? Even today, the stores you go, if you want to, your buying experience in the store is kind of online experience. So there is no checking counter per se, a person in the checking counter or anything. There is a monitor, just like in the thing, and you scan the products, and then you place your products and you scan your swipe your card. There is no person there. So even the brick and mortar retail store experience has converted into, when you are trying to finish the sale, it has been partially converted into a digital experience.
Yes, and there was already a retail apocalypse in the late 2010s, 2017 to 2019. There was already brick and mortar stores were closing left, right, and center, and many businesses were shutting down already. So I guess the pandemic probably just accelerated the movement to mostly online.
Exactly. And also what another thing they are doing is that another trend in US picking up, the size of the stores are shrinking. Because what they are happening is before the stores don't know uh, like what all the product is trendy, what is in demand, right? So they would like keep a little bit of everything in the store, so they have to have a lot of big store, right? So even with that big store and lot of products stocked, they will always have too much supply of products that are not desirable and less products of desirable. Now with the big data and analytics, they are taking a smaller store. They are what they are doing is they are significantly stocking up the product which is in demand, because with data they know, and not stocking the products which is not so much desirable, but the customer can come in the store, and if they want that product they can order, and what they are doing is immediately they are shipping to their home free of cost. So now they can have a smaller store, um, well stocked inventory that is desirable, and they are having per square foot better sales and better margin, because they are able to better track with data.
So the movement is now high quality, lower quantity. We have fewer stores, but those few stores are absolutely perfect in what we have.
Exactly, they are smaller stores, like many stores I'm seeing, like all the stores basically when the lease renewal is coming up, they are all shrinking the stores. They used to have, like for example, let's say they used to have 10,000 square feet. They are not going for 10,000 square feet or 15,000 square feet or 20,000 square feet. They are going for now like half of it or one third of it. So they are reducing the footprint, the cost of real estate. They are really reducing, the number of people to service that store is also lesser. All the other utility cost is also lesser, but they are stocking it better, right? With the more relevant products, because they are better able to assess that. That's the way the business model is changing.
I see, I see. And another question I have is, so what would you say in short are the main insights that can be taken from the usage of big data during the pandemic response?
So, I think it's only going to increase. That is what it is, because I think people, all the businesses got a very good taste of it, very good taste of it. And before the big data used to be kind of, oh, large company, large enterprises, we need to only, it's for them. I think what has happened is the smaller businesses who are coming to compete and trying to disrupt, they are thinking now the investment in this data is more important, because if they have to disrupt the big players, the only way, one of the powerful tool that they have, the powerful tool they have is data, because they can understand what's going on, they can go and disrupt the big players. So the investments in the data and analytics is not only happening from large players, it's happening even from the startups, the startups trying to disrupt.
So even so now every company from the biggest chain store to the smallest startup, they
Yeah.
will need this. It's like
Yeah.
now it has become the blood of every company. Without it, you cannot function.
Exactly. Right. Today, just like the CRM or email, right? No business operates pretty much without an email or CRM. The data and analytics has become like that. It's become very utilitarian. It is not that fancy. The few privileged will have it. It's not that. It is very utilitarian. You need to have it. You cannot operate your business without that.
Now big data has become as ubiquitous as email, basically.
Exactly. For businesses want to operate, they need to have that. Yes.
So my last question will be this one. In the future, if there is, like, let's hope there is not another crisis like this. So how do you think big data will be used to manage another crisis, if another health crisis happens, and let's hope it doesn't?
See, it's less about how big data can, um, help in another crisis, because that's clearly proven. It is really the governments of the world, uh, and the institutions of the world who are supposed to be dealing with these stuff. They need to put better data sensors, more proactive, whatever that means, right? The institution collecting the data, when a marker is seen, immediately that's alerted, right? So they need to implement a system, better global system, uh, pandemic system per se, where these markers are taken and alerted, because now we don't have a global system, right? Like that was the main problem, right? This could have been very well managed if it was contained, right? But it was not contained, right? It was, we let 3 months and the people travel. If that marker was available, if that was alerted, that, so I think where I think they are going to see is that how we can implement system, and a part of that, a very important part of that system will be the data system, right? How do we implement that so that immediately you can catch these markers and immediately, alert the right alert and response system is put in place, right? That is the thing that is been missing, and it's very clear now, because so far, right, the every 100 years a big thing like this comes. uh, the problem is they take years for them to spread, because the transfer people mobility was that slow before. The mobility now is pretty much within a day you can go from one corner of the world to another corner of the world. So if you don't have quick containment and response of people, a person from North America or South America, contained, can travel to the other side of the world, and now once they 2 3 people travel to different parts, it's out of control. So the markers has to be there, and that has to be contained. So that is what it is, and we need to implement. I think the governments of the world and the institutions of the world and the World Health Organization, stuff like that. They will put something in place so we can better manage and contain this, because the question is whether there will be a pandemic like this for the people who are this in this industry, where there is no question whether there will be another pandemic, right? There is no question. There will be pandemics. There has been pandemics. There will be pandemic. The real question is, are we going to be better equipped next time to deal with such pandemics? That is what is the real question. The question is not about whether it will happen again, because certainly it will happen again. Whether it will happen in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, we don't know, but it's certainly about to happen.
So basically, like, the problem is not so much that, of course, another pandemic is going to happen again sometime in the future. But we need to have a way, we need to be prepared. When COVID-19 happened, humanity was not prepared to deal with it. We had the technology, we did not have a plan. So we were kind of, it was sink or swim, essentially.
Exactly. So the answer to your question is, the technology is there, right? It is all there, but there has to be policy and implementation, a response system of that using these technologies. Definitely, that is the real thing, which is the most difficult thing, right? Relatively speaking, technology in many cases is not the most difficult problem. Uh, but putting it in place and making it effective is the difficult problem.
Exactly. Technology doesn't mean anything unless somebody knows how to use it and put it to effective purpose.
Exactly.
So hopefully, if this happens again in the distant future, we will be prepared this time, because we would have learned from COVID-19. We would have looked back at history. We would have seen how we did it then. The good we did, we would have taken. And the mistakes we did, we will not repeat again. And we will find a way to manage that.
Absolutely. No, definitely. Yes, definitely. There are already some good things already has come out of this, right? Yes, this is, I'm not saying nobody would ever say COVID-19 is a good thing, right? It's definitely a bad thing. But I think we have learned, we as humans always learn to get out some good things even in a bad situation, right? This is a bad situation. So we have found a vaccine in the time frame which was never imagined is possible before, right? We came out with that. We vaccinated people in the pace and even all the countries in a scale, in the speed that was never imagined that is possible before, right? We did that. So like that, there has been possibly many this bad situation has created some positive outcomes which is going to help us in the future. And some of these and the solutions may is there is not one solution. There are global solutions, there are national solutions, and there are regional solutions, right? That has to be implemented. So I think I am sure India, the healthcare system. I think countries like India and every country for that matter, once this is over, is going to review their national healthcare system and national healthcare response system and tracking system, and they are going to do something. Hopefully, they are going to do something about that. And globally, they are going to do something. And then each states are probably going to do something. So we all can hope, and hopefully they do that. And most likely we are going to be in a better place when something like this strikes us again.
Of course. And the point you mentioned that we made a vaccination in a speed that was not previously possible. Vaccines used to take decades to make. Now
Exactly.
it took only like it took 1 year.
Exactly.
This is also an eye opener to the healthcare system. In the past, the healthcare system might have thought it's impossible. We cannot do this, and they might have moved at a glacial pace. And
Ex-
but now, under pressure, we managed to make a vaccine that is effective.
exactly.
So the healthcare system knows what they can do when under pressure. Imagine what they can do if they put the same energy when there is no crisis.
Exactly. Right. Lot of positive behaviors have changed. I I was at a doctor's place yesterday. They are family of doctors. I was talking to one of the doctors here, and he said before, if he would talk to the patient over the phone and not meet face to face, the patient they would complain. The patients would call and complain. Oh, I'm not satisfied with this service. Okay, but now, in last 1 year, everything is remote, right? There is only a phone call, and they are giving prescription. The lab tests are done. They are looking at the remote. Everything doctor sitting from his office, a home office, and and the treatments they're calling the patients and talking to them and all that is done. And he says they are not complaining anymore. They are all patients are used to it, and they are telling, hey, we are more productive. The doctor said, I am more productive. I have lesser more time to for my family and more time to my patients. So this is definitely a positive behavior. So there are a lot of positive outcomes that has happened. Yeah, and we have learned to create positive outcomes from this difficult situation and unfortunate situation.
I totally agree. And let's keep looking for positive outcomes in bad situations, even after everything becomes better. Cannot lose hope. We need to keep having our optimism and keep doing what we need to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it was great getting all this questions answered by you, Rajit. This was a very informative talk, and again, let's hope that we've taken what we've learned from COVID-19, and hopefully when the next crisis happens, it won't be as much of a crisis anymore. We'll be ready next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sitara. Great questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a good day, Raj.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.